Guilty Gear Xrd is the 5th mainline game in the Guilty Gear series. You may have noticed we skipped Guilty Gear 2 Overture, and you would be correct. Now, it's a mainline game, but since it's not a pure fighting game, I decided that for this video series of these games, I would skip it. Arc System Works decided a new Guilty Gear was in due already in 2008, but then immediately got busy with BlazBlue and Persona fighting games. But only a few 6 years later, in 2014, did we get Guilty Gear Xrd Sign, which was then followed by 2 sequel/updated versions called Revelator and Revelator 2. But today we are looking at the original Guilty Gear Xrd Sign.
Guilty Gear Xrd.
You will immediately notice that the game looks quite different. Gone are the hand-drawn 2D sprites, and in are the full 3D cel-shaded models running on the new Unreal Engine. You can clearly see they were immediately pretty good at mimicking the 2D anime style right off the bat, and they will only get even better from here on out. Even today, this game is still only matched by other Arc System Works games for its visuals. The story this time involves Ramlethal Valentine, who declares war on the whole world. And since everything else that has happened in this world, people do take it quite seriously. So Team Sol is sent out, and after a fierce battle and some help from Ramlethal's sister, Elfeld, they do end up stopping her. But it is revealed that this whole thing was a distraction by the Conclave, a mysterious organization in an attempt to steal the Cradle, which houses the body of Justice. They want to revive Justice and take over the world. So Team Sol has to do everything they can do to stop them. The story is presented mostly in its own mode, like a manga or anime style series, with little to no actual gameplay. This is a slightly controversial. There is some story mode in the arcade, but the bulk of it is in its own mode. Some people like it that they don't just have to, play the story if they don't care, so they can just skip the whole mode, and others just, they are here to play a game, not to see a movie, so they don't want this kind of mode at all. Personally, I'm not really sure if I like it or not. I think, even though it often feels forced to have a random battle in the middle of a heartfelt scene, I still think I prefer it that way. But I totally get those of you who like it, like this. The story here itself is completely fine, gets the job done, though it feels a bit like it's a big setup for Rev 1 and Rev 2, which it kinda is. So this one feels a bit like a slow burner, and then it ramps up really in the later games. The gameplay has no big adjustments since last game. Well, last fighting game, anyway. It's the same fast-paced game you love with supers, psych burst, low Roman cancels, and instant kills, which are better than...
Melia, win! Ramlethal, win!
Never. Of course, there are many minor changes and, you know, adjustments. Dust attacks, for example, have 2 follow-ups now, allowing some great corner combos. But the big-ish thing here is the new clash system. A clash occurs when 2 simultaneous attacks hit each other. And 2 things can happen here. A normal clash where either player can cancel the attack into a new attack, or danger time. For 10 seconds, where damage is increased by 20% I think, and connecting with a strike will result in a mortal counter, which means great damage. This is definitely the most accessible Guilty Gear so far. Not only has the difficulty been cut down drastically, though of course that is the trend with all fighting games nowadays, as in the end the only reason the AI cheated in the old games was so you could farm coins from whoever was playing in the arcade. And nowadays the home console release is much more important than the arcade release, so there's really no more reason to make it unreasonably hard. If you're new to fighting games, this game makes it as easy as possible for you. It has very comprehensive tutorials, slowly taking your hand and teaching you the basics and even some advanced stuff, so you have easy time to jump into online or against harder AI or something. Now I would like to talk about the online here, but it's pretty hard to find a match nowadays. Even the Steam version of Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R has more players, though that is thanks to the new online stuff there. And of course, there is not much reason for a Guilty Gear fan to play Sign instead of Rev 2 for example. But if we go by my memory, it works fine, nothing amazing, there's no rollback, so it's not amazing, but it gets the job done. I can't remember any huge lags or stuff like that back in the day. Though this is the last Guilty Gear without a walking around lobby system. So that's either good news or bad news depending how you like the system. Rev 1 and Rev 2 both got the dreaded / loved lobby system where you can create your own avatar and walk around and talk with people, and you know, to fight someone you have to go to an actual arcade machine with someone and so on and so on. But that's not yet here. In conclusion, Guilty Gear Xrd Sign is the start of the modern Guilty Gear era. It did its job well enough and got good reviews and sold well, but not good enough to actually steal audience from the more established fighting games like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat for example. Not that the Arc System Works needs any help nowadays, Fighters has been incredibly good and everyone has loved it, not even mentioning the sale numbers. Plus, Guilty Gear Strive seems to be incredibly hyped up. But when it comes to Xrd, the game is still a great game, but a great game you probably don't need to play unless you're really into the story. Because if you want a modern Guilty Gear, I recommend you get Rev 2 instead, and if you want an older one, I recommend you get Accent Core Plus R with the new online stuff. So, unless you really want to experience the story, there's not much reason to go with Sign over Rev 2. I probably should have made this video about Rev 2 instead. Oh well. Thanks guys for watching this ramble of a video series. The next part will be about Guilty Gear Strive. When that comes out, I will probably be looking at the beta at the beginning of next year. So look forward.
ガキだろうが知ったことか。相手見て